Jeepers creepers. Can you turn the sound down? Thank you. It was at max?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know, I kind of did a middle ground, but you know.
Yeah, we won't need it till later.
Hello.
Good morning, good morning.
I went like 5 minutes ago. I like pulled up with the wolf there and put it in 5 minutes.
Layton, good morning.
I got there. Give me a phone.
Sayer, can you spread out those cards there a little bit so people will know what's, they can see them? Thank you.
I had a pretty weird.
We just have 2 today and 2 tomorrow. And then 11 is the last day, yeah. Maybe we don't have a speaker on our last day. I'll keep that in my back pocket. How about
I
that?
was so tired yesterday.
5:30 at the law. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and just that's like the COVID at home original. So you go. Yeah.
If you join your Zoom, you're thinking you just plug in? Is that what you're?
Oh, I can absolutely just join the Zoom. That's easy.
I think I'd prefer that. Then we'll
okay, I'll just go.
So do you have the I can give you the join ID if you want.
Okay, is it in the document?
Yeah, of course it's somewhere. Yeah, it's actually right up at the top of the page. And who else? Michael, you're presenting today?
Mine's on Pixium, so if you pull it up, I'm good to go.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it. I saw a picture of it. It was incredible.
That's so strange.
Shrey had one in his story. I don't know. Well, we are late in staff.
Actually, there's
Kind of. I don't know. Mountain lions can do some damage. I don't know about it in San Francisco. Did you find it, Dalton?
I found the link. So you got well, I got here. I'll try it. So he's fine.
Okay.
Most of that was pointing like that. Okay, which is like why it's so hard. This isn't that which looks understand. Well, yeah, I'm trying to say you probably can't find.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Yeah, it was like partly. I mean, some techniques, you know, they sound really fun. So it's like super happy. There's a lot of gardening, and these are like don't mess with me, but
How's it going, Dalton? Are you, if you just do, oh, what's your challenge?
I'm just clicking on the link and it's not letting me join the meeting that is, but I have the app, but it doesn't work.
You can join from the web. If you just go to zoom.us,
Okay.
you should be able to get in.
Uh,
Is your document on, let's try this first.
oh, okay, I'm gonna be able to join.
You got it? All right. While he's getting joined, I'll tell you what we're going to do today and this week. So we've got two presentations, Dalton and Michael this morning. And then we did an exercise last week on Thursday where you guys all found a map. And I think we'll go around and talk about those just briefly. If you want to try to find one,
Yeah.
add it into Pixium, we can talk about that. And then I want to do an exercise on maps in fiction. So you're going to go find a map from some Lord of the Rings, whatever, and add it in, and we'll talk about that. And that'll probably take us to 11:15. And then we've got Ben Grant, who started a website called Daily Overview. It's sort of artistic satellite imagery. It's really beautiful, and he's an entrepreneur, and he's spoken all 4 years. And that'll be it. And then tomorrow, a couple more presentations. I've got a couple ideas of what we could do as far as looking at maps. I'm thinking I might ask you to go find examples of speculation, modern day speculation. I think that's a good thing to have some idea of, because I want you all to be skeptical consumers of information visualizations. And I think that's it. The only other thing I'll mention is, it may surprise you, but I get nervous about presentations. I'm giving a presentation. I'm condensing this class to an hour, and at 3 o'clock today, I'm presenting online a webinar to like 200 alums about this class in an hour. So I've got some idea of how I'm gonna do that. All right, Dalton, I think you're in, and let me also introduce our guests. We've got Andre and Amir. Andre from North Macedonia, who is a new parent, new father.
Hey, nice to meet you.
From Istanbul. And they are the programmers of Pixium. And so to the extent that you have any feedback you want to give them while they're here, they're only going to stay for the first two presentations. I know they'd love to hear any feedback that you have. Okay, Dalton, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
Since I am going to have to present
Yeah.
via my computer, may I
Yeah.
just stay seated?
Yeah, that's fine. You're good.
Should I unmute myself for this, or will
No, I think you should, why don't you say something?
Hello?
Can you hear him?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stay like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just going to share my screen. I'll start with camera and then I'll ready.
Did you see the Equalizer? You know that Equalizer movie with Denzel Washington?
I haven't seen it,
Nice.
but I know what it is.
He starts his watch every time trouble's about to happen.
Hopefully no trouble here. Can everyone see what I'm presenting?
Yeah, let me make this bigger here.
Okay, so today what I wanted to present to everyone is a map of a marathon that I ran a couple summers ago. I wanted to share this map because I think it's a super fun way to show how modern mapping combines a lot of the elements, and because it's something I'm personally proud of and something that is related to the area. So what I'm going to do first is kind of zoom into the route, and you guys will be able to see where I went, and I'm going to show you guys some of what this means over here and down here. This is on Strava, by the way, which is definitely my favorite mapping platform now. My passion for maps really started when I was looking through atlases as a kid. And I think my passion today continues through apps like Strava, where I can kind of track what I've been personally doing. So let's get started. This is a 26-mile run, and I did it while I was here during my summer after sophomore year. Something fun about this run is that I basically went straight out and then I didn't come back. A friend drove me. So I was able to cover a lot of distance on this loop or on this route. So if you guys have ever been down towards Pittsfield, that's essentially what I did. I ran on the main road and they have a big bike lane that I was able to hide in. So going down here, we went all the way to Bull Hill, and then I took a loop around Enoda so that I could get to 26, and then I actually finished at the boathouse. A cool interactive element of the Strava map is that you can put zero spikes and can't zoom in on it, but I have a photo of me in front of our boathouse, and that's where I stopped. The most interesting thing I think about this map is that there's so many elements that are combined. So for example, here is the pace, distance, elevation, grade, and you can actually see the elevation rising, and this is the steepest part, and then it was all kind of downhill from there. And then the little dot actually moves as I track over this as well. I think that Strava is a really cool interface because there's so many things you can see. It has a lot of trails, and you always know where you are. When I'm out on the road running, I open Strava a lot over other map sources like Google Maps or Apple Maps because they have so many things for trails and mountains. They also have points here on the map where if you're up on a hike, you can go see like where the viewpoints are. But anyway, for people that are into maps and into exercise, I would strongly recommend Strava. And yeah, and then I'll kind of just show some splits and kind of talk about the run. Here, the run started out like pretty consistent. And then as I started getting to this little spot here, the elevation went down. So I sped up a little bit and then I got tired. You can see I have a 9:28 pace there. I went a little bit slower. And I ended up finishing at 9:01, so decent. And that's 3 minutes. So yeah, I love this map. Hopefully you guys get to use Strava at some point. It's a really cool app. That's all I have to say. Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Is this like, can you get this on your phone or is this only on the computer?
You can get on it. But I found that these types of apps like Strava, the computer version is way better than that. So if you ever want to really dive into your activities, it's better to get it on desktop.
When you run, do you tend to plan your routes ahead of time on Strava, or do you more just look at it after the fact?
When I had Strava Premium, I'd plan my routes ahead of time, but in an effort to save money, I stopped buying Premium. So now I kind of just plan as I get.
What made you want to run a marathon?
I really like doing long runs, so I think a marathon was like a pretty like natural goal because I was into going for long distances.
With Strava, and like the whole, posting and one-upping the previous, like your previous self, but also everyone else, like, do you ever feel pressure to like go further or go faster because of the Strava of the people?
That's a good question. I think in a positive way, yes. If people are doing stuff, I feel like I should too. But I never am begrudgingly doing stuff because other people are. I think it's more of a positive encouragement sort of thing.
I'm sorry, I'm ignorant about Strava, but is it just through your phone it's reading what you're running, or do you have to wear a special watch to monitor yourself?
You can actually do it in many ways. My watch has a really good GPS, so that's what I use. But a lot of people just take their phone with them when they're running and don't bring a watch.
Is there a metric? Because I see that there are different options that file in there with like pace, heart rate, cadence, so on. Is there like a particular metric that you find most helpful or most insightful to like read while like comparing your route and everything?
I don't actually read my pace. I read my heart rate. That's really a question. Yeah. I do heart rate because it basically says how hard my body's working. So yeah. As you can see, towards the end, it got really high.
Oh, and it's interesting that it stayed somewhat constant even as it was going more steep.
Yeah, so I kicked the pace down when I was doing steep to
Okay.
keep the heart rate the same.
This is not the premium edition?
This is the free version.
Wow, so what does this is a lot of information. What does the premium give you?
The
beyond
premium biggest thing is route building, and then it can also give you like coaching and things like that.
Wow, thank you.
What was the final time on the running?
I think it was a little over 4 hours. No,
With a lot of elevation.
Yeah.
yes,
No.
it should say somewhere around.
Did
Oh,
you
right.
say what the high point was?
Yeah.
Elevation?
4 hours and 3 minutes, but that was not with time for stops.
Right,
So it'd
right.
be a little longer.
Yeah.
And then the elevation, the high point, I think this is how much, yeah, so the high point was at mile 10. And
Where
it was
is that on the map?
1500. And that's gonna be somewhere around here.
I think if
We
you,
can also, yeah.
yeah, there you go.
It's right there. Near the Great Lock Range.
Wow.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much. Awesome. Just a second here. It's just real good. Which one am I going to here?
It's the airport.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want a clicker or?
I'm all good.
You're good?
It's
Okay,
just
great.
as is.
Great.
Okay, everyone. So this is a map of the runway 19 river visual approach at Reagan Airport. So as I said on the first day, I'm a big plane nerd. I love planes, and this is my home airport. So I live right about there, and so I get to see a lot of these planes flying in, which is pretty cool every day when I'm home. So a little bit about what you're looking at. So this right here, this is the Potomac River, which runs through Washington, D.C., which is right there. And so the black line that you see, that's the path that the planes have to follow to line up to the runway. However, the runway is pointed this direction, and the planes are coming in like this, forcing a last-minute turn right here above the Rochambeau Bridge. The reason for this is there's restricted airspace above Washington, D.C. So this P-56 or P-56A and P-56B cover the White House, Capitol Building, and National Mall, and the Naval Observatory, respectively. And that protected airspace has been in place since the 1930s, but has continued to grow and be more heavily defended, especially since 9/11. And now there's actually surface-to-air missile batteries on the roof of the Eisenhower Building next to the White House, which would shoot down any plane that was not meant to be in the restricted area. So this approach is one of the most technical and challenging approaches of any airport in the entire United States. And then this primary runway here is the single busiest runway in the entire United States. So a lot of other airports, Chicago, Atlanta are far busier, but they have 8 and 5 runways respectively. Whereas out of DCA, almost all traffic operates on this one runway. And so what that means is you've got a really congested, really heavily trafficked area where you've also got military airspace and you've also got a lot of military aircraft. And so if you guys remember back to January last year, the tragic midair collision, that happened because just off the right side of this map here, there's Anacostia Bowling, the military base there, and the military helicopter was flying quite low. And at the last second, because this runway was busy, they diverted a plane coming in from the south to go around to land on runway 33, causing that midair collision. So all this to say, this is a map that I find really, really interesting. But when done right, it's really beautiful. There's a lot of really cool spots to plane spot. And if you're flying into DC, I highly recommend getting a window seat on the left side. Because when you're right about here, you see the whole National Mall laid out in front of you. You get the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, Capitol Building, White House, and it's all quite beautiful. So that's all I got. Any questions?
How did you get into aviation maps? I feel like that's something really interesting and that's stuff I don't know about.
So my uncle has a small four-seater plane. So I remember Tom was talking about ForeFlight. He is really into aviation, and whenever my family would go up and visit them in northern Michigan, he would take me flying since I was a really little kid, and I loved it. Thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And then he would actually let me fly the plane a little bit. So don't know what the FAA would think of that. But I was like, this is the coolest thing, just like feeling that like your movements were changing something as you were flying through the air. I thought that was awesome. And so yeah, that kind of kickstarted the love for all of that.
You brought up plane watching, and so like, are you kind of more interested in the military planes, or like the recreational kind of things? And what do you mean by plane watching? Like you can tell, I don't know how advanced you are at it, but like can you tell like the different models and stuff like that?
Yeah, I could. So right there's a spot called Gravelly Point. It's a really popular spot for people to just hang out, play frisbee, have a picnic. And, when the planes are landing from the north, you can see all the planes watching. So that's what I meant by plane spotting. It's really cool. They're flying maybe 100 feet over your head, usually less. But yeah, if you pointed at a plane in the sky, I could tell you what it was for pretty much any commercial, military, or civilian plane. But it's harder to do military planes just because there's not an Air Force base close to where I live.
What's the extent of like the border of DC and like when do the planes have to start following the river?
So they have to start following the river kind of up out here. So Dulles Airport is a little bit farther out this way, but that just helps get a little bit of separation. So if they're coming up from the south, they'll fly up this way and then line up. And if they're coming in from the north, they come here and line up. That way they're just all on this kind of final common pathway into DC. And then the DC borders are about like this. And then so this here is all Virginia.
So it's fall. This is a river, the path, just because it's safer if they fall.
Yeah, it's that, and then also it's just an easy navigation aid, so it's easy to see. And typically, in the event that there's fog or really, really low clouds, even if there's not favorable wind, they come in from the south just because it's easier and it's a lot easier for the plane with the ILS approach to just go straight in. Whereas this, again, it's highly technical and they rely on a lot of visual cues where they need to be making these small adjustments based on seeing, okay, we're at the key bridge, need to turn a little bit. We're at this bridge, we need to do our final turn to line up for the runway. You can't really do that if you can't see where you're going.
Could I ask, what are the DCA4 and DCA3 arcs?
That I don't know.
Oh.
Sorry.
Can you tell us a little bit about the app that's behind this? Like, is this a screenshot from the app?
No, this is not from ForeFlight. This is just an FAA chart that is a navigation aid for pilots.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned plane watching. Yeah, I don't really know anything about planes, but I imagine like, do you ever see like multiple planes coming in like pretty close to each other? Because I'm just looking at this and I feel like, I don't know, like I'm imagining like a lot of planes coming in on the river, like it's congested, like there's traffic.
Yeah, so when you're sitting here, it's actually quite cool, especially as it starts to get later in the evening and all the planes have the lights on. You'll see there's like a plane here, a plane here, a plane here, a plane here. And so you can see the lights. It'll be like a bigger light and then a slightly smaller one behind it, slightly smaller one behind that. And you can see probably 5 or 6 planes lined up in the distance, all coming in, but they have an aircraft movement every 45 seconds on that runway at peak times. So like a plane will land and the plane's like taxied, waiting in place. The second that plane gets off the runway, this one's going, next one is touching down right as this one takes off. It's all like, it is a very, very tightly choreographed show and it's really cool.
I want to refocus our conversation just a little bit on the map and whether you think that this is a good map and why.
I think this is great. It shows a lot of the really unique challenges of this airport. Again, if this was anywhere else in the world, you would just be flying straight in and it wouldn't really be that difficult or that remarkable. But it's the fact that you have to make and execute these really, really tight turns under demanding conditions with the knowledge that, if you deviate slightly over the shore, you're probably going to get a call from the FAA and lose your job as a pilot. That's a little bit scary. So again, yeah, it shows a lot of those unique challenges. And also, if you're a pilot, it's super helpful they have these markers here, 1800, 1500, so on and so forth, that give you altitude targets. So this is where I need to be in terms of time and space to be lined up to properly execute this landing. So I think it's helpful for both if you're a pilot and also for someone who's new to aviation, learning about one of the more interesting airports there is.
So do you think that it's too complicated, too simple, or kind of, Goldilocks, just right?
I think it's Goldilocks. There's some that are incredibly complicated that I don't even understand that I, would feel bad showing because it's like literally every square inch has some sort of information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that all of DC was restricted airspace. Is that like semi-true, not true, or like do those specific areas maybe some more? Or are you not allowed to fly over it whatsoever?
So DC is what's called Class B airspace, which means that you have to have special approval to fly in. So obviously, if you're a scheduled commercial flight, if you're Delta, American, United, whatever, you've got approval. But if you're, your random uncle who has an airplane, you would need express approval from the FAA to fly into DC airspace ahead of time. So these planes are only good to do that because, again, they're scheduled commercial flights. But the way that they route all the planes, no one is actually flying over DC proper ever. Like if someone's doing that, they're lost or something's really, really wrong or there's some sort of emergency. Like that just doesn't tend to really happen given the layout of the DC airports. Yeah.
All right, one more and then
Are there like other, because I know you mentioned the White House and like the National Mall is restricted airspace. Is there like other places in the country besides DC that have this kind of thing?
Area 51 comes to mind. Yeah, that is probably even more serious than here. I know around a lot of Air Force bases, they've got things like that. So if you're at like, 40,000 feet, they probably don't care too much if you're flying over. But if you're in a little Cessna and you're at 2,000 feet getting close to, an Air Force base, you're probably going to raise some eyebrows and they'll scramble jets to get you. So it's just different depending on where you are. And then also around Cape Canaveral, anytime they're launching a rocket, they have a restricted airspace set up, and then they have fighter jets patrolling to make sure no one flies into the path of a rocket.
Great, thank you.
So you need to save up a little bit more money.
Yeah.
So Andre and Amir are here, Andre, guys, I'm sorry we didn't get you an example of a presentation that involved Pixium, but since they're here, and I guess I would just ask you guys to just think for a second about your experience in using Pixium. We're always interested in feedback, right? We're constantly trying to make it better. So does anybody have any feedback they'd like to share? Yeah.
I think Museum is an awesome site. I think that stuff like the dots and the voice recordings are super, super helpful, and they kind of separate it from other sites where you can just like look at images. But I think that like the process of putting the dots with the audio, I don't have a great idea for how to make it easier to do, but I just think it took a little bit
It was clunky.
Yeah.
It was hard. Okay.
But I thought it was like fantastic, and it's like great ideas to have that there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Other thoughts? Yeah.
I kind of feel similar to Dalton. I basically think that just like slightly better signage would be good. Like I'm not sure why Phil is the way to like start a new exhibition. Like, yeah, basically just like more descriptive signage.
That's great. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Seriously, you can't hurt our feelings. You want it?
This is like really specific, but I often forgot I was logged out, so I was like looking for like certain buttons, and I was like, wait, what am I doing? So like I don't know, maybe some like icon on like the side.
Yeah.
That's like
to know that you're logged in.
like just like those empty like person silhouettes, like the white and the white that you can see that.
Yeah, we have that, right? We see it when you're here, right? I see that.
Yeah.
But now when I'm in somewhere, I can't see that.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Whenever I would come in, like it would be direct. I would go directly to the exhibit or the playground or whatever.
Yeah.
So usually you can't do that without logging to a site, which is great because it means you don't have to. But then when you're like looking to do something, I feel like I'd rather know
that you're logged in or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Makes sense. Yeah.
Is there like a simple how-to page? I didn't get like super deep into it, but I think that could be helpful if there is.
Yeah, we have a tutorials, but it's just videos on it.
Okay.
So
I think maybe like then like a how-to page where it's like create an exhibit
uh-huh.
or fill an exhibit with a picture or something like that. I think
Right.
that could be really helpful with just like step by step, like click fill, click
Right.
upload, that kind of thing.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, Raphael.
I guess this is like non-specific, but like for the exhibit story, I was like struggling to get it right because I was unsure if I would set Zoom and I wasn't sure if it was like Zoom correctly. I think I accidentally made like like several exhibit stories and had to delete them.
Yep.
And maybe it's just me, but I had a hard time with the exhibit story.
With the creation of it,
Yeah.
the zooming and all that. Okay.
Great.
Great. Yeah.
Is it possible to add a pin to an exhibit without adding a Zoom location? Because I feel like I tried to add pins without Zoom location and it said not proper, so you're not adding like a valid data or something.
That's a good question. You should be able to,
Okay.
right? Just
So
put the
maybe
pin and
I
not.
made a mistake, but if you can test it, maybe.
Uh-huh. Okay. This is great. Anybody else? Yeah.
Something else very specific. I made my first exhibit was not like it wasn't as clear as we had wanted it to
Yeah.
be. And then so I made a second and I couldn't figure out how to delete the second.
The delete the exhibit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I like I looked for a little bit and I couldn't figure that out. So maybe
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's under edit exhibit is how you.
You'd have to go you'd have to go into down at the bottom, edit exhibit stories and then
okay, so the exhibit story.
find it but
I think you went back. You went through the
I think I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Visual version list, because right now it's like you break it, there's
Another visual.
of list. Name of. It's like a folder on your computers. Because right now when I'm trying to find for a map, I need to like click on the folder to see the name of the map, and sometimes I'm confused about which map I'm looking at. So if it can be a list version, you know what I mean?
Like,
So like this right here, like this list on the left.
So
Oh.
I see the name.
Yeah.
Use the folders directly, so I think that would be more helpful.
Yeah. So something like,
When you're in gallery mode,
yeah,
you can see the images, but you have to hover over each one individually to get the text, right?
oh,
So,
you'd
like-
rather see all the text, like all,
like
like
an option to
an option to
just
see,
other than a gallery.
so kind of like, I mean,
I guess like, yeah.
Is there a like, shifting version of one gallery?
it's not hard. It's not hard to do that. Yeah. That's a great suggestion. Right? Am I seeing it right? Like it would be a list view or a kind of like on Google Drive, you can see or Google Slides, you can see them all in tiles or you can see them in a list view. Yeah. Okay. Great. Got a lot to work on. Okay. Andre, Amir, anything you want to say?
Yeah, that was some good feedback. We will go over those things.
All right. Amir, thank you. Anything you want
Thank
to
you
say?
also. Thank you guys. Thank you for your suggestions. And of course, we will work on it.
Okay. Andre and Amir, thank you for joining. I'll
Thank
let you
you
guys go
also.
now. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Um, Amir lives in Istanbul, but he's Iranian, and he has some stuff's going on in Iran right now. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. It's quite challenging. Anyway, okay.
Me too.
Yeah, well, okay. So this is what I wanted to share. Like well, no, but there's like over 30,000 people apparently have been killed there. Like it's
No,
no, we're talking about they locked down all the media, so no internet, nobody can get.
well, there are some whitelisted individuals, but they're kind of like, it's like
Yeah.
other individuals.
And apparently they have killed over 30,000 people, and apparently they have there's nothing about maps, but they have a technology to blind someone, and that's a special punishment that they're doing to protesters. And it's Amir was saying over 300,000 people in the last month have received this treatment. Yeah. Uh, okay, so let's be grateful for our freedom and let's move on. So we're going we yeah, let's go to the playground and we can just sort of look at what we all put in as, so we gave people time just to, we had talked about this, so just gave people time to find a map that interested them and put it into the playground. And so I think what I'd like to do is just go around the room and you could just tell me just a little bit, tell us a little bit about what you picked and why. Jiwon, you want to start with you?
So this is a fictional map from a book series I really like. It's a map of Roshar, which is the continent. And it's part of a series called the Stormlight Book, which is part of like a universe of like different books that author Brandon Sanderson wrote. And I chose it just because I really like the shape of the continent. I thought it was a really interesting shape to choose because it's kind of symmetrical, but like not fully symmetrical.
Yeah.
And also like at this point of the series, a lot of the borders have changed, so it was interesting for me to like go back and see the original map and then like think about how everything goes, how they're kind of shifted now. And then it's kind of a spoiler, but I thought the site that I got this map from also like lets you, they have like a timeline attached to it, so you can see like key events from the storyline, and it'll like mark where it happens. So
Cool. This is like that site we went to, Old Maps Online, that looked at the political boundaries changing over time. Cool.
So are there political boundaries on the map?
It's just divided into like, I guess their equivalent of countries.
Mm.
And there's like fate lines.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Oh, and there are different map modes?
And that one's like a weird cognitive thing that it has. It's kind of hard to.
Oh, so these are all the books?
Oh, and it shows you the locations that are, that's actually quite amazing.
This is really cool. So we're going to actually do, if we have some time here, we're going to do a exercise where we'll go get other fictional maps. All right. Thank you for that. Oops, this is prior class. Michael.
Okay.
Satira.
Oh yes. So, I'm not completely ashamed to admit that's what I've been doing like right now. So Satira is a website that I've mentioned once or twice. This is where I've learned most of the geography that I have. The way it works is it's pretty much just a bunch of map games. So if you want to find that one specifically, go to Europe.
Countries?
No, just Europe. Go above it. Yeah, just click that. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe on the top. Okay, yeah, scroll down. Further. And then keep going. There's a lot of them, see? So, okay, a little bit higher. On the right, you can see
A little bit higher. You'll see
higher.
it.
So like there's countries like organized like that,
Yeah.
UK. Okay, UK, England, counties.
Okay.
That's the one that I had that I put on because that's the one I was like interested in around like last class.
Uh-huh.
So you just hit start quiz. Also, I have an ad blocker, so that's not a problem. Now, like it'll quiz you on all the
Should I block
countries.
that?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, that's what
This
this
is not making a decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the way it works. So like try to, I know which one that is, but like just click around a little bit. Yes, that's actually it. Okay, and then so
Oh, I see.
yeah, the way I do it is I was explaining to my mom. There's like 4 levels of like knowing it. So the first level is you don't know it. The second one is you might have heard of it, but you have no idea where it is.
Yeah.
Like Yorkshire is a good example of that. Like I had heard of that before I ever tried to start to learn the counties of England.
Yeah.
But I had no idea where it was. But then there's also like geographical indicators too. So this is East Yorkshire. So if that was North Yorkshire, you can kind of like reason that the east one,
Yeah.
that's a little bit too far. Go further north, there you go. Like it's east of North Yorkshire. And then it's the same kind of deal with a lot of them. Or like London, for example, Merseyside I've heard of.
You still have to click the red flashing one.
Exactly. So then you get 3 tries.
Okay.
And the color that it ends up being when you get it indicates how many tries it took you. So white is first try. There's like dark yellow and light yellow, which I even forget which one that is. And then red is you didn't get it after 3 tries, and you have to just find it.
Berkshire.
Yeah, exactly. Berkshire County.
Do you know where it is?
Yeah, it's right below that.
Here, this guy?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Cornwall, like I knew where Cornwall was. So like this is
Bottom left, over there.
yeah,
This guy?
yeah, that one as far as you can go. So then for me, the third, like the second one is you have like a little bit of an idea. The third one is kind of know it by name.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten it before, but I don't really like understand it, and I would forget it after a few tries. So like I just did it right now. Actually, maybe it's still up.
Try the most northern one. That's my guess.
Northumberland.
No, but Northumberland. Yes.
I'm about to.
Does that mean that there's a Hampshire?
No,
New
New Hampshire, but it's actually not close.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so this is the way I do it. I think the proudest one for me is I learned all the federal subjects of Russia.
Oh, that's
I don't know all of them right now, but I have like 90% of them still. That was like last year.
Impressive.
Yeah. If you want to see that, yeah, go to Asia.
No.
Well, no, it's like 82. 82. Scroll down. Just scroll that a little bit further. It's over. There you go. Russia federal subjects. I learned all of them.
So all the oblasts and republics.
And prides and
Oh, okay.
cities.
Only 2. Oh, yes.
So I've got to ask, GeoGuessr, like that's your thing. Like, how do you think about this relative to that?
I think GeoGuessr bought Cetera a couple of years ago. So as you can see, like in your URL here, like because they're pretty related. I mean, this is more like guessing and being able to
Political body.
be able to like pick up state, pick, like no states or borders and different cities, and GeoGuessr, how that's fun is like, as I'll show you guys in a couple of days, it's fun where you actually get a photo of where you're at and figure it out. So
Do you like?
definitely
You ever
connected.
use GeoGuessr?
It's not free anymore.
Yeah. You gotta pay a few bucks.
Yeah. Interesting.
They're better for Williamstown, GeoGuessr.
No.
The Williamstown's not for GeoGuessr.
Does the Williamstown know?
Yeah, it's not that big.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You get it off at like 1 meter, you're down like a 200.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
This was mine. I just thought it was cool because Greenwood's been in the news so much recently.
Yeah.
To look at sort of why US or other countries want control over it. So this isn't interactive or anything, but it's just like all the mineral resources that Greenwood has and where they are. So
Cool.
and where any cities are currently, or like outposts.
Yeah.
Do you know how they found this information? Like where?
Data geological surveys, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I assume some kind of like penetrating something.
It's actually impressive they've gone so north.
I was gonna say that's nuts that they've gone to all these places.
Yeah,
with, like such little support from civilization.
Yeah.
I was just looking to see what the world in map.
Yeah, I found this on Reddit as well.
It's on Reddit?
It's not like 100% trustworthy
Yeah.
source, but I just thought it was really interesting.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Michael.
So besides airplanes, my other like niche interest is totalitarian governments, and I've always been fascinated with North Korea. And I remember my fifth grade teacher showing us this map from National Geographic, um, and talking about development in South Korea versus a lack of development in North Korea. So the best way to see that illustrated was at night, and so that's why I included it. And you can see the massive burst at the north end of South Korea. That's the Seoul area, and then the tiny, tiny bit of light that you see in North Korea right there is Pyongyang. But that's really the only spot in the entire country that has, reliable electricity at night. And even Russia and China right next to it, I mean, are lit up like crazy.
Right.
I think there was an ocean there.
Yeah.
Is it as populated as other
Yeah,
South Korea and
It's,
Russia?
it's about as populated as South Korea.
Yeah.
The rural China is not exactly, a bustling metropolis. Like a lot of those areas are pretty underdeveloped. And
Yeah.
yet still, it's crazy.
Wow. That's cool. Okay.
Mine's a little similar, but looking at the US, I was lucky enough over spring break last year. I flew from New York to San Francisco, and I was like, for the whole second half of the flight, it was at night, and I was just like glued to the window because it just like for me, it's just something that's so cool about like looking out the window and seeing like I was trying to almost like guess what cities were what by like the light path. I'm like, all right, I think I was using the I didn't have Wi-Fi on the plane, right? I didn't pay for that, so I couldn't know exactly where we were as of like geographically, but I was trying to say, okay, we're this far in, and I just think it's really cool to see, right, what regions, just like you were saying, what regions do and do not have light, and also it's you can kind of envision, I guess, the path that I took, a little arcing path from all the way to the middle right to the middle left of the map, and just to kind of see these hot spots and think like, right, it was one of those situations where you're looking down and you're thinking like, wow, there's like so many people that I'm looking at right now from above. And like, I don't know, it just made me feel really like, not like small in a bad way, but just like, it was kind of like a really beautiful moment thinking about like all these people I was able to like look at in that moment. So, I thought I'd share here, like you can see the main hot spots. And I think I was trying to see look at what's the brightest spot, and it was saying Las Vegas is like as the whitest. It's hard to tell the difference
Yeah.
here, but because of its like all the artificial light and how often it's on kind of thing on that main strip. Well, I guess here for the US, yeah. Yeah, it's the Pyongyang, yeah, the West Coast, right? There's nothing there, and then Las Vegas. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right. I know who this is.
Yes. I chose this map because it's a map of Greater Kansas City, and the city is pretty static. Like it hasn't changed all that much except for development outward. And so I chose this because I wanted to look at where the neighborhood was and things like that. And so that's basically it. If you zoom in to the middle of the map, it's near where I live. Go a little bit down more. Union Station, that's where people go to hang out still. There's a science museum there now.
Is the cemetery still here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, because that's where the World War I monument is.
Uh-huh.
Yes. But if you keep going down.
Oh, all right. Oops, sorry.
See my house.
Are all the green areas, they can't all be parks or like they overlap houses.
That's the trolley trail.
Oh, okay.
If you go up, sorry, east to the left a little bit. We're 6445 Warnell Terrace, so we're like a little bit further down, but
Okay.
where it says Meyer is about where my house is. So that's cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Two sides of the two pictures that are the same, like not the same size, but the last one is more of the terrestrial structure, and the right one is more of the naming systems they are named after philosophers and astronomers. And the left one is more about like the actual terrestrial locations and how the moon is depicted. I found it really interesting, and it's also really aesthetic to look at.
Beautiful.
It
Yeah.
says there are seeds.
So this is both the same side of the moon, right? You at this 1647, you can only see one side. Oh,
The serene sea. Mares serenitatis. The tranquil sea. That's so interesting.
interesting. And I believe this is by Homa, Johannes Baptiste Homan, and I'm pretty sure that we have an exhibit by Homan. Yeah. He was a quite prolific map maker. Let's see. I wonder if I have that one. Ah, here we go. That's it.
You have that thing.
Amongst all this other. I mean, this is like you can get lost in this. Like you get lost in GeoGuessr or Esoterra. Like I get lost in like looking at this stuff. From what year is this? 1716. Okay. We'll keep moving. Is this who did this one? Yeah.
Yes, this is an interesting map from 1899 by this man named George Weston, who was a part of this organization. It's now known as the Community of Christ. And this is a map of ancient America as reported in the Book of Mormon. So this is a really interesting map to me. I'm not Mormon, but I do think that it's it's very interesting, especially the way that George Weston kind of decided to visualize it onto kind of modern geopolitical map of North America, early modern in his time, 1899. So there's a lot of locations from the Book of Mormon that exist on here, like land desolation, land death, bountiful, Zarahemla, land of Nephi, the Hill of Mora. Hill of Mora is in this real place in upstate New York, which is where Joseph Smith was referred to find the
tablets.
The tablets that were translated into the Mormon. But the thing that's interesting is, I think for me, is that they represent a lot of the places in the Book of Mormon, as in South Central Latin America, which was very common at the time for picturing like geographically the places in the Book of Mormon. But nowadays, because of like archaeological evidence, a lot of church sources purport that to be more to the continental United States. The contents of the Book of Mormon, like purely like North America, but this is a very interesting map kind of depicting it in South America and all these places.
Where I see Jerusalem in South America.
Yeah.
And Shen in Mexico. That's so fascinating. Shen's in Mexico.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that part of Mormon myth is that like Jesus hung out in the US. Does that show up in this map? Like this is where Jesus died.
Well, it would have been in, I guess, Central Latin America. It seems based off of what here. I'm not like super in touch with the Book of Mormon, but that's in Mormon and its content. But I believe that he appeared to the Nephites. And I don't think the Nephites are. I think the land of Nephi is further down.
Yeah, that would be Nephi.
Yeah.
I guess I'm surprised it's so South America central. Everything important is happening in South America.
Yeah.
It's really something funny also is that if you go into North America and zoom in, you have Nauvoo, Illinois, which was the kind of city settled by the Mormons first, and you also have Kirtland, Ohio, which was like you have all the different places that were settled by the Mormons on their I guess trek westward.
Yeah.
Kirtland, Ohio, Illinois.
Well-
and Independence, Missouri.
It's also like just completely cut off at Salt Lake City. Like there's no West Coast.
Weston was part of the group that didn't go with Brigham Young to Utah. They stayed in Independence, Missouri. They're a factional group. They aren't part of the main LDS church.
Well, now we know, thanks to Matthew's map, that that part of the US is like the North Korea of the US.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. That's really interesting. Okay.
Oh, okay. So this isn't the best map. It's from Reddit. It's
Yeah.
the best thing. Honestly, it's the best thing I could find after a while. But essentially, I just wanted a map of the Habsburg domain, just in general, like every territory that was controlled by Habsburg. Because I find the Habsburgs pretty interesting. I don't know.
Okay.
They had South America.
I know. I was looking, I was looking for the America colonial maps. And I could not find one that had all the European domains and the abroad domains. So this is the European one. I don't know. Pretty interesting. Austria. I think it includes like World War I occupations by Austria-Hungary as well, because they have Poland.
Yeah. Did they say what year this? Oops.
No, this isn't year. It's like all of the territories controlled by the Habsburgs over time.
Yeah.
So this is all the territories they ever occupied in history.
We control most of it all at once.
All right.
Yeah, Maximilian. I was trying to look for one.
Carlos Quinto is what I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't know how I know Maximilian.
Hold on. I got to show you something because I found this a while ago. 1282. And so I don't know who did this, but I won't go through the whole thing. Anyway, you can watch it. I added it in, but it goes through the whole trajectory of the Habsburg Empire. Okay. It's on the exhibit text, right? I added it in. Okay.
Looking for that guy, Charles Bishop. That's what I was looking.
Yeah, Carlos Quinto.
Why is it Spanish?
Because he's also the Emperor of Spain. That's how the Habsburgs controlled all of South America. Is because they also inherited the Spanish throne.
I see.
All right. Noah.
Yes. So this I actually added in a second one because I thought it was a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
They're completely unrelated map, but I can explain that one if you want me to.
No, we can go to the one where
You might
is.
have to refresh the page.
Oh, you just added it
I
in?
just added it.
Okay. Hold on.
So I was talking with a coach a few years ago, and he was like, "Yeah, I went to this funeral this weekend, and there's this very interesting section of it where they talk about his history of this thing called the Cannonball Run, which is a race from New York to LA, usually by car.
Driving.
And this guy had held the record for like the mountain section, which is like a crazy thing. But this is a run from 2014 where these guys modified, it was a 2004 Mercedes, and they averaged 98 miles an hour across the US and made it in 28 hours and 50 minutes. And this is their average speed math. Every data point is, each color is correlated to a different speed. Green is 0 to 60, blue is 60 to 100, yellow is 100 to 120, orange is 120 to 140, and red is 140 plus. And so this is each point along like how fast they were going.
And are they going on an interstate?
Yes. It's like
Each point in every minute.
I doubt it's by minute. I don't know what the like split up is for how they recorded speed. But I would assume every like maybe 10 minutes or something. It's an insane race. Highly recommend looking into it. But it's something absolutely crazy thing. Yeah.
And like obviously there's police. Like, what do you And how do they hack that?
They'll have these scanners in the cars that they drive. But I've also heard stories of them sending out like false cars to go try and pull police aside.
Wow.
Like send somebody speeding.
Like they have their own, a separate car?
Like they'll have other teams. Like diversion. It's the most insane
Do
thing.
the Mavericks was interesting, the surf thing. Mavericks, have you heard of this?
Yeah.
The surfing competition, because it only happens like when the waves are coming, and so all these surfers have to be ready for a month to go at any day. So I'm just curious about this. Like if they announced the start of this, wouldn't like the police like be
Yeah. So they
It's
did
on
it.
it's on the black web, the dark
Yeah,
web.
they did it 5 times in the 70s officially, and then every couple of years somebody will do an attempt. And the records are from COVID when like nobody was on the road, they were just able to go. And the current record is 25 hours 39 minutes.
At 112 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It is true they don't stop for gas, right?
They do stop for gas. I believe like this record had 46 minutes stopped. But they'll modify the cars to have bigger tanks. So they run for longer.
do they get, is there any money in this? Is it
No.
like, it's just crazy thing to do.
Yeah,
No sponsors.
no sponsors.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
did make a movie about it.
Long time ago.
yeah. Did you guys have something else?
Oh, yeah, so it's not like it's like a race that everyone kind of does in their own time as opposed to like a set. Like it's like
Yeah,
not
they
like
won't,
multiple attempts are going on at once. It's
Yeah,
more
we're
just
like
like
this November,
I
we're
see.
sending 5 cars to go.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, so they don't all go at the same time?
It's like anyone can do it.
Anybody.
Like you could do it right now, it seems like but like
But
Mr. Baker, let's go.
like if there's an announcement so it'd be like
yeah,
then it
I'm
wouldn't
ready.
be allowed to happen.
because so yeah, just an insane people.
It's an interesting mapping of it. I'm
is.
not sure well, actually I should go to the website and go see what it looks like
Yeah, he
here.
talks a little bit more about it's like some forum post where he talks about the trek that he did. And then if you scroll up, there's a few links where he says here.
Yeah.
There's an article in that here. He talks a little bit more about like the car, the trip. There's some links to look into the like model and what they changed.
And so you can't win. Can you win? I suppose you could win conceivably, or
Yeah.
if you got stopped by the police, but that's like an hour or two. Yeah.
They let you go back on the road after this.
Yeah.
See the speed limit.
Does Europe have anything comparable?
I would say like but I wouldn't be surprised.
High speed train ride.
What about the Paris to Dakar?
If you're gonna
Isn't that, you guys heard of that?
Paris to Dakar.
That's
Yeah.
a legit race.
There's you drive like dune buggies or something.
What year?
Wait.
Paris to Dakar.
All the way over the Mediterranean.
I don't know, the Dakar Rally.
Modify the car.
What year did this?
That run was 2013.
So like when did the tradition start?
On
Yeah.
the Wikipedia, it says the first attempt was 1915, but I think like it really started. People started paying attention like the 70s were the main. Yeah, but it's like this one garage in
Yeah.
one garage in New York called the Red Ball Garage to the
2 weeks driving. Okay. That was fun. We did the Habsburgs.
I actually also did the Habsburgs. Well, I did.
You're
So
on
I
that.
actually thought this map was interesting because I think it was made in 1816.
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought that was interesting is because it was made by an English cartographer for an English atlas in 1816. So after, I think this is after 1815 is the final defeat of Napoleon, I think, at Waterloo. So this is after Napoleonic Wars. So I don't know exactly when the Congress finished, but I just noticed it's a very detailed map actually of Austria. And you can see even the distinction in the crown lands of specifically like the Austrian half of the empire. But what's interesting to me is north of Galicia, which is the large green region north of Hungary, there's a large pink region called Neue Galicia, which is interesting because this is something that Austria possessed before the Napoleonic Wars, but not afterwards. You can see that this is actually half of what would become the Kingdom of Poland, which would be awarded to the Russian Emperor. This was not possessed by the Habsburgs after the Napoleonic Wars, so I'm not quite sure why it's included. Other interesting features of the map are that the surrounding regions are just not colored in. And I think that's like interesting. I'm noticing in a lot of these maps that cover boundaries, it's like they have like a very defined scope. And then
Yeah.
anything outside that scope, they kind of just blur over.
Right.
To kind of like limit the amount of information, make it more readable maybe. But that was especially interesting because much of Italy at this time was actually essentially Austrian puppet states. So it wasn't directly annexed by Austria, possibly to try to minimize any diplomatic backlash by Austria wanting many parts of Italy. But for instance, like Modena, Parma, and so on all had, for instance, like cousins or like spouses of like Austrian nobility installed as like their dukes and counts and stuff, which I think is fascinating. But this was the majority of it. There might also be a slight inaccuracy around Dalmatia, Dalmatia, which is the blue region in the very south.
This looks this doesn't seem like the way I think about the
About Istria?
Croatia. Isn't this, I don't know, the boundaries look different.
Possible. I mean, these were also sub-regions of Austria, so the political boundaries might not entirely line up. I'm not entirely sure if there's any geographical inaccuracies around the coast. That's possible. But I think there might be a legitimate political boundary mistake being made near Bosnia, for instance, specific province of Dalmatia.
Okay, thank you. Sayer. What is this? All right. Who did this one? Duluth. Nobody?
Maybe it was Josh.
Oh, yeah, Minnesota, of course. Okay. What do you got?
Oh, okay. So this is a little precursor for what I'll probably be presenting on Thursday, but I'm not a plane watcher, I'm a bird watcher. And this is like a migration map tool called Birdcast. And so during 2 times of the year, like in the spring, which is like in this example May, like mid-May, and then also in the fall, which like late September to mid-October, there is a ton of bird migration. So like shorebirds, songbirds, waterfowl, raptors. And this is a map. It doesn't show the species of birds in particular in this image, but this map shows the number of birds that migrate during these times. So like on May 13th, you can go into Birdcast and check how many birds are migrating overhead that night. Birds migrate or raptors migrate during the day, and songbirds migrate at night. So this is like during the night of May 13th. The white is high migration density, and then it goes to purple or even black, which is low migration density. And it also shows precipitation, which can hinder some migration. So yeah, I just thought this was really cool, and I use this a lot during those times of year just to know like when birds will be migrating through, and that's due to seasonal like temperatures, but also largely because of wind. So like if I live on the East Coast and if like the wind is very strong from the northwest, then it's really good for me in the fall for raptor migration because all the raptors they're migrating south, so they're kind of getting helped to push south by that north wind, but they're also getting pushed towards the coast by that west wind. So and they try not to fly over the water. Of course, not all species try not to fly over the water, but for the most part, raptors do. But yeah, that's kind of I use it a lot, and it's just very a cool tool.
Are you presenting about this site?
Actually, I'm not. This
Okay.
is that's a migration tool. I think I'm going to present on eBird, which is like a more broad. We talk about this in the review, but it's like more of a broad birding platform.
How do they get the data for this?
They have so they have it might be like telemetry or like satellite systems. I've seen a couple like if you go to places around your city that's like known for bird watching, they might have these like satellite systems, and I'm pretty sure it's not. I don't know if they're tracking like untagged birds, but like there's a lot of species that are tagged with like satellite
Yeah.
data,
Yeah.
and they can or chips, and they can like check that and then use like calculations for how many species are flying through.
This is something that William covered last week. This concept of interpolation, which is where you have a bunch of data points, but you interpolate it to assume what everything else around it, what the data is. Which, by the way, like I would say, I would be skeptical of interpolations. Like
Right.
it's really complicated math, and uh,
It's a form of estimation.
it's a form of estimation, but it can be speculative
Yeah.
pretty quickly. Okay. Let's see. I think that was it. All right. Well, we've only got 5 minutes, so we're gonna do tomorrow maps of fiction, and we'll start with that tomorrow. So if you want to look for a map of that now, go ahead. Our speaker is going to be here in 5 minutes. So why don't we just break until then? What? Yeah. Hold on, I gotta.
But they have one bike. I don't know. It's just.
The test you what?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, there's GeoGuessr and then Cetera. Seterra. Yeah, but yeah, thanks. Did you get through any of it?
I didn't.
Okay.
I can get it. Yeah, it's not right.
It's great. It's easy, but
I'm such a like chronic not sure of folks.
oh wow. I'm like right there at the end here. Huh.
Reading one that you might like.
Yeah.
Sort of like quasi historical explorer and the last voyage of somebody the sailor.
The last voyage of subletting the sailor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's one of those books that that's kind of like Ulysses, that you could build a really accurate map of a real world location based on the events of the book. Except it's in Maryland.
Do you know there's in my we'll talk about this tomorrow, but there's a guy who made these maps of Ulysses of Dublin.
Yeah,
all the places, a fictional map.
Yeah.
And apparently James Joyce did not want it made.
Really?
He would like it had been suggested, why don't you let somebody make a map? And he was like, I don't want it
Maybe
done.
he
But somebody
it's like a demystifying thing.
Yeah.
He wanted people to work for it and just read the book.
yeah.
Maps are kind of cheating a little.
Yeah. from one perspective.
Yeah.
The last voyage of
Somebody the sailor.
somebody the sailor. Okay.
It takes place like and it's basically this guy from Maryland time travels to like just like basically like old Sri Lanka, I don't know what time period.
Uh-huh.
And he meets like the historical figure that inspired Sinbad the Sailor.
Uh-huh.
And he tells these stories from his childhood and to them, and they think it's like made up like Sinbad stories.
Uh-huh.
But then every now and then when he starts telling the parts where he like jumps over like the ancient Islamic world,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I know that place. Yeah, I know that guy. Like, it's a great book.
Cool. All right, let's see where our speaker is. There's Ben. Okay.
I think a chair for the first down.
Ah, there he is. Do you want to sit in the back? Do you want to sit? You're craning your neck if you want to pull that chair back over there. Yeah.
I'm gonna move to,
Okay.
this is the thing with the beacon this way.
Hey, Tom, can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Morning, everyone.
Perfect.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second.
Take your time. We're kind of gathering ourselves here, and I'll do a few introductions before we get started.
Perfect. I can hear you loud.
Okay, you can hear us? All right, we can hear you. All right, let's get started. Before I introduce Ben, I'll introduce some of our other guests. There's only two, so I'll embarrass them and make them introduce themselves. Lance, you want to say hello?
Hey, good morning. Lance Rothstein. Tom was a year ahead of me at Williams. I love the mapping kind of idea and the history of maps. And I actually attended, Ben, your lecture last year, and it was fascinating. So here I am again.
Lance and I are collectors of an odd thing. Lance, you want to tell them what we collect?
Are we talking about manhole cover pictures?
Yeah. We take pictures of manhole covers when we travel and send them to each other. Manhole covers. Like this round,
like
generally round.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh. Gordon?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm a lurker here, an old classmate of Tom's at Stanford Business School, and I share at some level your interest in maps and history and technology and convergence of all three of those that seem to be manifest in Tom's class here. So he kindly invited uh, me and many others to listen in on your class, and so that's why I'm here, and I've been enjoying it so far. So thanks for letting me be a fly on the wall. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Gordon. Nice to see you. And Steve Simon is here. Do you want to introduce yourself to Ben?
Yeah, hi Ben. I'm Steve Simon. I heard about Tom's class, and I love maps, and I have a role at Williams, which is that I call myself the first gentleman. It means I'm married to the president.
Okay. Well, Ben, thank you for joining us again. Artist, advocate, cartographer, entrepreneur, journalist, entrepreneur, and I don't know, are you retired or are you still a pickleball pro?
I'm still playing. I don't know if I'd call myself a pro right now, but I got a bronze in a tournament last night, so I'm definitely still playing.
Awesome. I have been a fan of Ben for many years. I followed him on Instagram, bought his books, watched a couple of his TED Talks. He has an incredible eye for imagery, and I appreciate the work that he's done in the time that we've spent together. Um, from Philadelphia originally. I think I'm out of date. Are you not? You're not living in the Bay Area anymore?
I have since moved to New York City since
Okay.
we did this last year, so that's been updated.
He went to Yale and was working as a brand strategy consultant when he started Daily Overview in his spare time. And I'm going to let him sort of take it from there. Ben, thank you again so much for joining us.
Of course, it's great to be back with you all. And Lance, I'm excited that I decided to change up the presentation slightly from last year, so it won't be entirely a repeat. Some of these slides might look a little familiar, but um, this has kind of become an opportunity for me every year to reflect on what I've been working on, what's going on with satellite imagery, and to share my story with you all. Hopefully, it will inspire something with what you're studying or with whatever you ultimately end up doing with your life professionally. So let me share my screen. I want to be sure I share the entire window because I'm going to be jumping between my slides and a few other things today. So let's try that. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Great. So I'll start with some classic slides and then we'll move around. As Tom mentioned, I am the founder of Overview, a project I started in 2013. Crazy, it's been 12 full years now since then. And it all started because I learned about this idea known as the overview effect. I was working in consulting, as Tom mentioned, and someone shared a film with me called Overview that was about this idea, this concept, first coined by science writer Frank White after he had spoken to a number of astronauts who had been to outer space, and they reported this psychological shift, this new feeling that they experienced when in outer space, when they got a sense of how we all share this one home, this one planet, how fragile it is, and they came back to Earth with this new perspective that we needed to protect it and cherish it. And that idea really struck me. These astronauts saw views like this. This is a time lapse sped up slightly from the International Space Station. But this is taken from that film overview. And this really stuck with me. I wanted to bring this experience to other people in some way. I didn't know exactly how I would do that, but I was really taken by this concept. Um, a few months later at this consulting firm, I had started a space club. And that was a pretty odd thing to do at a buttoned up Park Avenue consulting firm. But I wanted to get my colleagues together to discuss something else besides our work. So I was preparing these mini TED Talks, kind of like this, about different themes. And one of the themes that I had in mind was satellites. You know, Google Maps was not new at the time, but had been around for like the last 10 years with satellite imagery. And I saw that blue dot that we're also familiar with now, GPS, telling us exactly where I was in New York City at the time. And I wanted to learn more about how satellites work and decided to prepare a talk about that. In the midst of doing so, I opened Apple Maps on my work computer. And because I had learned about the overview effect, because I was so taken by that idea, I decided when prompted for, the search that they search for a place or address, the prompt from the program, I typed in Earth, thinking, it would zoom out and show the blue marble photograph that we're also familiar with, like this. But instead, when I press enter, this is what I saw. And this is Earth, Texas, which is a small town in northern Texas. And I was so intrigued by that visual, these perfect circles. They look like pie charts or Pac-Man, whatever it conjures for you. And as you can see here, I'm kind of recreating my experience that day in 2013. And because the interface of Apple Maps was so good and kind of easy to control, like with a trackpad, I was able to frame up this image and make it, beautiful, in my opinion, like an abstract piece of art. that you would see, you know, in a modern art museum. So that's how this all started in Earth, Texas. I became completely obsessed with making images like this, and I would say maybe a couple of weeks later, I founded Daily Overview. I was kind of doing this secretly at my desk at work and kind of looking for new places. And the idea was simple. I would create one of these images each and every day, share it to social media. You know, Instagram was becoming quite popular at the time, and the project took off. So just to share a couple examples of what some of these images look like. Here's one of deforestation in Santa Cruz, Bolivia. You can see the untouched tracts of rainforest to the right side of the screen and the area that's been cleared for agriculture and farming, cattle farming on the left side. It's kind of crazy to think I've shared this image in a number of presentations now, and I actually haven't gone back to look to see how much encroachment has taken place. But the idea at the time when I made this, probably in 2016 or 2017, was that it was halfway composed with encroachment on the left and then this one cut in the middle, kind of verging into the right to give a sign of what was to come. So that's my homework, is to go back and revisit that image to see how much rainforest has been cleared since then. But from the very beginning, there was this kind of hypothesis that I would focus on places that humans had impacted primarily. That was clear to me that from this vantage point, you could see human activity at scale. And at the time, it kind of hard to believe, but there were often polls debating whether or not people believed that humans had any impact on the climate in 2013. So I thought I had a pretty good database here to pull from to show that it was glaring and obvious what was going on. So a few more examples. Looking at mines and extraction processes across the earth. This is a iron ore mine in Australia. Think about stainless steel, like the desk that I'm using right here, comes from an iron ore mine like this. But beautiful. You know, I think I discovered very early that this image is stunning and almost kind of confusing and abstract at first, and then you're intrigued by it, and ultimately you might learn, you know, where your stainless steel refrigerator came from. Thinking about energy, where we get our energy from. This is a solar concentrator in Seville, Spain. So, I mean, personally, I learned so much about all of the different processes we use to generate our electricity. Here you see thousands of mirrors arrayed in concentric circles around a tower. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but in the middle there, it's a 100-meter tall tower that has salt at the top of it that gets heated by the light reflected upwards from the mirrors below, which generates steam and spins turbines and produces enough electricity for, I believe, 30 or 40,000 homes in the surrounding area. Thinking about transportation and goods and how we move things around. These are shipping container ships and oil tankers outside the port of Singapore, one of the largest shipping facilities in the world. So transportation, obviously a massive piece of the human activity puzzle. And this slide, which I included from past years when I was giving this talk from the Bay Area, what you see are the towns of East Palo Alto on the right side of your screen, and Atherton and the area around Stanford University on the left side of your screen. So thinking about, you know, the human condition and where we live, areas that have green tree cover often are correlated with higher levels of wealth. What you see on the right side of the screen are, you know, poorer areas, and it's very obvious from above that they do not have as much green around where they live. So painting these stories, these pictures, has been a part of Daily Overview since it started in 2013. The project has taken on many different forms of media since then, but that has kind of been the core storytelling device the whole time of satellite imagery. You may be wondering, where do I get these images? We've worked with a number of providers over the years, different satellite companies and government organizations. A few of them are listed here. This slide actually needs to be updated because Maxar is no longer Maxar. They are now Vantor, but they have been also Digital Globe over the years. These companies have changed names 3 or 4 times since I started working with them. That's how long I've been doing this, which is kind of crazy. But interesting to see that each company has different resolution for their satellites. So it's been great to work with different ones depending on exactly what you need, what you're trying to show. If you're trying to show the entirety of a city, or if you're trying to show a single building, you might go with satellite imagery versus aerial imagery. And I think this could be a good time just to jump out of the slides and show you guys kind of how I access the imagery and where I pull it from. Tom, this is the new segment
Yeah,
of this year's
cool.
presentation. I want to call out what I just mentioned, like if you're looking for something small versus something big, what I've done is kind of brought up projects that I'm currently working on, so you guys can see, how I do this. This is a soccer facility outside of San Diego, uh, who has commissioned me to do a video of their construction since the facility started. Can you guys still see? It's
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
this is the resolution of aerial imagery, which is pretty cool to see. This is a practice going on. And you obviously can see individual people. This is 6 centimeter imagery.
What is it? How many centimeters?
6 centimeter.
6 centimeters. So that's like about as granular as you get.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might even have like 3.5 centimeter on
Yeah.
new cameras. And what that means is each pixel on my screen equals 3.5 centimeters on the ground. So correlating to that. So this would not be as clear from a satellite. So it's been amazing to work with these different companies. And as I mentioned, I'm doing the facility over time for them. So you can see if I go back a few years, this was a golf course before. And then over time, as that loads in, we can see exactly when the construction started. And slowly it became their new facility, which is pretty cool. Another thing I'm currently working on, sorry, 1 second, gotta log in here. Let me actually jump back here for a second. Before I show the satellite one, I will do a few more slides and speak to how I think about putting these images together once you have an idea like this, say the soccer facility or something else. To compose it like a work of art is something I mentioned before. And a little background about myself when I was starting this. I just graduated college and I had moved to New York City. And as a graduation present from college, my parents gave me a DSLR camera. And when I was walking around New York City with this camera, what intrigued me the most were architectural scenes, like the massive skyscrapers around me, but just finding like lines and angles and perspectives that I think ultimately really played out in why this project was so creatively fulfilling for me. At the time, I was also painting a bit, and just being in New York and inspired by the modern art museums or galleries nearby. I often found myself just like mimicking some of my favorite abstract expressionist artists and not doing anything, great myself, but enjoying the process and figuring out how you compose something and what makes something feel good or not good, how colors play off each other. So that when I started Overview and kind of found this medium, you could call it, in Earth, Texas, this was very much on my mind. So a few examples of that. If you take one of my images, say of this cattle feedlot here in Texas, those are little cows. You can see the spots there. The way I compose this feels a lot like a Pete Mondrian grid painting. It's my favorite abstract expressionist painter. And I usually don't go into too much detail here, but what was so intriguing for me is what I love about him as an artist is like there's not necessarily like rhyme or reason as to why that abstract composition feels so pleasing and good to you, but it does. And same way with um, kind of using the earth here and the cattle feedlot on the left, like that balance of the pool with the water and the lines and the amount of um, animals that you can see was like the right balance. So there's always kind of this similar feeling of what do I need to include? What do I crop out? Like what ultimately feels right? And that's an artistic decision because you're working with potentially like, the whole earth, so to speak. Like the tiles can go on forever. You have to make an artistic decision to crop it in some way and include what you include. Here's another example. This is Ipanema Beach in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The way I compose this is a lot like a Barnett Newman strip painting, just simple with a line down the middle. In this case, the beach is right down the middle. The image I showed you before of deforestation in Bolivia, the way I composed that feels a lot like an Ellsworth Kelly block painting. Again, kind of just that um, composition with the line purposely in the middle. And yeah, I think all of the images were intended to tell this story of human impact, but the way I thought about it was if I can make them more visually appealing, it's more likely that people will read about them or look into them more or buy them as a print or um, share it. More likely that it would be viral on social media, which I'll get into in a second, has been like a key piece of this project from the beginning. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into making the images look as good as they are, which I think is kind of what, in a way, has like protected me creatively with this project. If it was just easy to go online and download, 1,000 beautiful satellite images, I think many people would have done this before. But that's another piece I want to show you guys today of what does it take for me to build one of these images. So if we go to Photoshop. A project I'm currently working on is I was commissioned to do the imagery for a new book about Formula One racetracks. So they gave me a list of 35 tracks around the world and said,
Wow.
go do your thing. And we want, high resolution imagery of all of these locations. So I've completed the imagery and just wanted to jump into one and show you, what would it take to make one of these. Um, so the example that I'm going to use today is the one in Abu Dhabi. Um, I think maybe this is might be obvious to everyone, but if you go to Wikipedia for any major place in the world, they do list geo coordinates that you can take and drop into Google Maps or Google Earth, which has made my life a heck of a lot easier the last 12 years. If you have an idea for something, to not necessarily trust that, Google Earth will be able to pull it up right away. Some things are more obscure or don't have an address. Let me be sure I'm using the right one here. So I could just type in Abu Dhabi and I know exactly where it is, but I have those coordinates now. And this building here is Ferrari World, which is right by the racetrack, which you can see here. So this is one of the satellite providers that I work with, Vantor. And this is like their back end software where you get all the imagery. You can see here on the left all of the days where there is an image captured for the racetrack. And you can also do something like this where you go to photo mosaic. So these are just good higher res images that have been kind of vetted already to some extent. And you can get, again, here 15 centimeter resolution. So now that I have this area, I still need to make a decision about how much of it I want to include and how big it needs to be for the book. I'm kind of doing this rotation here to line it up. And let's say I've got roughly that area. I can draw a polygon I would do that and then export it. So I've already done this already, obviously, for the book, but that kind of just shows you the first process in finding your location, selecting the area. You submit that request to the satellite company. After a few hours, you get a notification that it's ready. And then it would be delivered to me like this. You guys can see all this still here in all of these tiles. So that area that I requested is roughly delivered to me in 6 images. So once I have those TIFF files, I then open them all up in Photoshop. And you can see here, it is not ready to go. You know what I mean? This is not book ready, right? There are 6 different images that I need to stitch together. And as you can see in one of them, for example, this is a problem that I've run into many times over the years. There's this tiling issue where the photo mosaic includes an older imagery on which the day was cloudy or there was atmospheric haze. So as an artist, I need to make a decision. Is this something I can fix or do I need an entirely different image? And this is where Photoshop gets interesting, is oftentimes I'll just finish the image to make it look as it would look. I'm not, doing any Gen AI or fake images, but you can see I could fill in the water depending on how much I need to include in the book. So once that's all stitched together, it would take me probably like, I don't know, an hour to do it in full, maybe half hour. It will look something like this. So this is now all the tiles combined. Um, this water was fixed, as you can see over that area. Um, Again, nothing fake was added, but I needed to clean it all up. And what's great about it being 6 different tiles is that you ultimately have great resolution. You kind of just keep building out the resolution. As I mentioned, this is 15 centimeter imagery, so the more tiles you add, the more area you add on the ground. You can see this image is 36,000 pixels across. So this would be, good enough to print, not necessarily billboard size, but, 20, 25 feet probably in good resolution. So yeah, that was not something I knew how to do when I started this project. You just kind of have to figure it out. I mean, early on, the project went viral, and someone said, "Can you do prints for this museum show we have coming up?" And I said yes. And then offline, I asked my friends who were really good designers, how could I possibly do prints at this scale, and figured out a way to get the high resolution imagery and stitch the imagery together to make the images for that exhibition, and then other things came later. So let me dive back into the slides and just talk a little bit about, what's happened since I started doing this, and a few of kind of the real world uses or applications of this imagery where it's gone. Um, so I mentioned social media. Instagram has in many ways been like the lifeblood of this as like a business over the years. This video is slightly outdated. There are now 1.5 million Instagram followers. But Instagram was kind of the perfect platform for this. When I launched it, because of the visual nature of it, you could start with a, super beautiful, intriguing abstract image and then follow the image with the description to give people the context of what you're seeing. And I was writing these captions that are 3 or 4 sentences, easy for a quick read, and one new Instagram post a day, basically every day. I wanted to call out these few stories. And this has been more of a development, I would say, in the last 5 years, um, that these satellite companies are more aware of social media. They're more aware of like the news cycle. They've been more interested in getting their brands out there. So that when major news stories happen now, oftentimes this is probably not surprising to hear, but oftentimes there are satellite images that accompany those news stories. So the ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal, the Ever Given, was a major story for a few days, and all of the satellite companies were focused their cameras on it, which led to me having like different angles and different stories to tell different perspectives. The American withdrawal from Afghanistan, kind of the crazy, almost like notoriously iconic images of the people on the runway there was captured via satellite. The war in Ukraine, that was kind of the first major war, the events in Gaza recently. These stories are kind of often almost like better understood and told via satellite, and also that leads to kind of crazy engagement on social media because in many ways you are breaking the story to people. You are oftentimes like the first view they have of it in full or a better understanding of it. Just recently, oh, this image from Ukraine is going to change with the destruction. It's a time lapse, I think. Maybe not. There it goes. The roof of that theater was destroyed. Um, this month, the US strikes in Venezuela. As it was happening, it felt like I was delivered before and after imagery from one of the satellite companies that I work with. I think this video should play here. Yeah, you can just see some of the destruction and damage. I mean, this was then shared in the New York Times, but I think I might have posted my video before the New York Times because we get the imagery at the same time. So if you're on it, you can really be breaking news on Instagram. And this video went super viral and got, as you can see the stats, there's more than 7 million views, 130,000 likes, 87,000 shares. So in many ways, this is different than my initial hypothesis of showing human impact on the planet, but just what has happened since I started the project with social media and these satellite companies kind of changing their public stance on what they want to share, that has become, something that I do sometimes and is helpful in some ways for the project, even though these stories are often not great. Over the years, we've sold many images as posters and prints. People ask for certain images, custom images, and we're able to do that. So this has just been something that's kind of grown organically. Exhibitions around the world. This is one we've done for a number of years in Sweden, getting the images, outside of galleries and into public spaces like this public square has always been so intriguing and fulfilling. Office spaces. This is a sustainability group in Barcelona, using the images digitally like this. They project really well. You can see a few on the walls there. Office spaces, again, like printed. This is at a Facebook office in the Bay Area. We just did this actually for a couple offices in New York as well, kind of including where they are in the surrounding area within the image, but also giving this greater context of the world surrounding that space. Brand collaborations. This is one we did with Louis Vuitton for the 200th anniversary of their founder's birth, kind of showing Paris over the years. This was one that Tom actually helped me with by pointing me in the right direction of where I could find a map of Paris 200 years ago. So thank you, Tom, for the support there. I don't think I included. Oh, there you go. I do have the video. I did an overlay of Paris today and Paris 200 years ago, since it was not possible to get a satellite image 200 years ago, obviously. But maps are in many ways just parallels for the imagery that I'm showing if you overlay them the correct way. A book. This was really what allowed me to launch the project in full. I got a book deal and left consulting, based on the success of the Instagram account. The book was very in line with that initial hypothesis of what humans are doing for the planet or to the planet, on the planet, across the planet. You can see the chapters there in this middle column where we harvest, where we extract, where we power, where we live. Again, those buckets of what human civilization and activity looks like. This book did very well and was translated into 10 languages and led to a children's edition that I wrote next. And it's still in print, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, the book was just this amazing way to crystallize this idea and create something kind of cohesive rather than it just be, an Instagram feed from the first few years. Uh, that led to a second, adult book, full book, building on this idea of showing things over time called time lapse. I think what I just showed you with the facility in San Diego, the soccer facility, speaks to the power of um, telling stories over time, be they as specific as a construction site or agriculture. This is just a video from one of the satellite providers showing how you have access to these monthly mosaics. That is Earth, Texas, kind of where this whole story started. But just looking at change over time, there are obviously many stories to tell. The Instagram in many ways has shifted in this direction as well too, because social media is prioritizing video way more. So being able to turn these changes over time into animation videos with many years or one to the next. This is Las Vegas from the year of my birth, 1989, to 3 decades later, goes from 700,000 people to nearly 3 million people, 4x growth. That's obviously an extreme example from when we had access to early satellite imagery in the 80s. But pretty wild. And if you do it over many years with video, it's just as compelling. Or individual locations like this distribution center being turned into one of the largest rooftop solar installations in the world. But yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. I think we've got about 10 minutes for questions, but it has
Great.
been a journey for me working on this for the last 12 years, but I'm so grateful that this has been a part of my life that I was able to combine so many things that I was personally interested in, be it outer space or photography or abstract art, environmentalism into one thing. And I think that's where, the magic happens at the intersection of all those things. So thank you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hi, thank you so much for presenting. That was fascinating. If I could ask just one question, I want to know what's the biggest driver of revenue in your business?
It has changed over the years, from one year to the next. When I started the project and I worked on it for the first 2 years, on the side of my consulting job, the revenue was zero, which is pretty crazy in retrospect, but maybe that's what you do when you're like 24 is you just kind of go for it and not worry about where the money's going to come from. I mean, in the beginning, it was just deeply artistically fulfilling and satisfying. And don't get me wrong, like going from zero Instagram followers or 10 of just my friends to 20,000 was like cool in and of itself and validating that I was making something that was being shared on the internet. And um, I think why I'm saying that is when it became time to make money, I had people to sell something to, which was that first book. And my first book deal, which was not a crazy amount of money, I mean, I'll share, it was like $25,000, was enough money for me to go for it full time. And then that led to other forms of revenue. I was then allowed to start selling posters. I was then allowed to start selling digital files for, a company's redoing their website and they found the book and they want to buy 10 images to use on their website or exhibitions. Like the revenue has looked very different over the years and often required me to go to the satellite company and say, hey, am I allowed to do movies and film? Hey, am I allowed to do a calendar? Hey, am I allowed to do, I always kind of needed their permission to add new revenue streams, but I think because the content kept going viral and kept having this consistent stream, there were always new people coming to the project or discovering it who were like, hey, do you want to do a bear brick? Like Drake's team called me one day and was like, Drake wants to do a new candle line and needs 5 aerial images from places all around the world. Can you make you know what I mean? Like stuff I could have never imagined 12 years ago, but like what at the core of it, I think is like I have partnerships with these satellite companies and can create artistic imagery, which is good content, and that can lead to many, many, many different forms of revenue. Um, but yeah, like currently the biggest form is licensing. So like what I mentioned about the Formula One racetrack, I'm not writing that book. I'm effectively being commissioned to license 35 racetrack images to a publisher. And you make up a number for that and you ask if they will pay for it, and then you have business. So it's been it's been a journey for sure on that front, but always interesting, and yeah, you never know where it's going to come from next. So yeah,
Cool, thank you.
sure.
So there's satellite imagery, which I understand is, like satellites from space, but what is aerial imagery and how is it so much more precise?
Yeah, so those are from cameras affixed to like Cessna aircraft, and this company that I was showing there is called Nearmap. So they will have just scheduled flight operations over, major metropolitan areas, or if they think, there's an event that will like lead to business for them, they'll fly it, is what they call it. So they work with a lot of insurance companies, for example, or roofing companies. So if there's a storm, people will assess a building, like all the fires in Los Angeles, for example, like insurers will look to see, if the damage that people are, including in their claims is accurate, and they can get a lot of information from that. I mean, there are so many different applications for their imagery that I think people are still figuring out exactly what to do with it, but yeah, it's interesting like what additional value they can extract out of that 6 centimeter imagery versus satellite. Um, I I don't know if I have it readily available, but they've been using a lot of AI. I mean, this was kind of the first application of AI that I'm gonna not be able to pull it up since we have limited time, but they can do really interesting things with their stuff of show, where there are roofs that have too many leaves on it, like, and identifying that, and then like gutter removal companies can get like a scan of a neighborhood and get an estimate of like where their best customers are. Like it's really granular, and cool like that. So yeah.
Thank you.
We had a student here, John Steinmetz. Anybody know him? He graduated a year or two ago.
I would guess I know who his dad is based on that name.
Yeah, yeah.
George,
His dad is a professional photographer.
yeah, legend. Yeah.
And John had a drone business where he would
Mhm.
take pictures of houses in his neighborhood and then go around to his neighbors and say, do you want to buy a picture of your house from up above?
Yeah. Yeah, he's worth checking out, George. He's kind of been going around the world on his own paraglider for decades, kind of photographing the world. It's been interesting for me to meet, some of these legends like Edward Bertinsky or George or Jeffrey Milstein, who are like actually aerial photographers in the sense
Yeah.
of being, hanging out of a helicopter or a paraglider with a camera. I've had a lower risk profile the last 12 years than those guys, but in a way we are working with the same medium. So yeah.
We got time for one more. Yeah, yeah, Michael.
So, do you have a special affinity for photographing or looking at images of places that are close to home, close to your heart, things that you're interested in, or looking at things that are totally new from all around the world? Like, what really captures your attention the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's almost been, I wouldn't call it like a revenue stream that emerged, but like I end up giving a lot of gifts to people of like meaningful places. Um, so like to my future in-laws, I gave them like their lake home, this Christmas, like an amazing print of like this place that has such important meaning to them, but in this new way that they've never seen before. Um, or just like, where people have gotten married or engaged or like making a print of Wrigley Field for my dad, who's a Cubs fan. Like there are really powerful stories to tell with those images. And I also think, I've been doing this for 12 years now. I've learned a heck of a lot of random things about the planet and where we get our food from and how we get our goods delivered around the world and where we get our electricity from. And I think the fact that I called the project Daily Overview like kept me accountable to keep going. When, maybe this would have just been something I was trying for a few weeks or a month and, my interest petered out. But because of that, I just stuck with it. And I think that led me to create enough content to get a book deal or to grow a following to a sizable amount that led to the book deal. Who knows? But yeah, I think like there is that familiarity and close to home that's so special and soulful. And I also think there's like the spirited, what else is out there? Like what else are we doing? Curiosity, that I think, led this thing to grow and grow and grow. So you need both. But it's a great question and it's been fun to look at all the angles. So yeah.
Ben, can you stick around maybe for 5 more minutes? We'll let these guys go who have things to get to, and we'll just chat maybe a little bit more. Give Lance a
Sure.
chance to ask a question.
Yeah. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ben. That was fascinating. I really enjoyed that. And
My
keep
pleasure.
up the great work. That's really cool.
Thanks.
I just became your 1,500,001st follower on it.
Everyone counts. Every single one counts.
All
Thank you,
right.
Gordon.
Thanks. And thanks, Tom.
All right,
Fantastic.
Gordon. Thank
Really
you.
love what you're doing.
Thank you. Lance, did you have
Thanks,
any
everybody.
questions?
Well, I mean, Ben, you probably know
Hold on a
this
second.
in terms of an application for some of the flyovers versus mapping, but I know the city of Philadelphia, for example, through its ArcGIS platform, has done a high-res flyover of the entire city so that they can keep tabs on houses that are imminently dangerous and require action. And basically, you're able to go into ArcGIS and pull up a specific location, and then you can overlay the images, which has always fascinated me. I was part of a program where we actively went in and demolished imminently dangerous properties all over town. And they were able to use a process very similar to what you show in order to inform those decisions. And so I've always thought that use of the technology for cities is fantastic.
Yeah, GIS was not a term that I knew when starting this project, and it like has been so fascinating to see all of the various applications and all of the people working with this imagery in so many different meaningful ways. Yeah, I think one kind of thing that's always stuck with me is I was giving a talk at one of the companies that I partner with, one of the satellite companies, and I went into their office and was like going to the auditorium, but like walking past all the desks, I saw all the people like looking at the imagery on like relatively old like Dell lab monitors, like really, really small, like grainy, like not, the big studio Mac display that designers use. Like it was really almost like something, I don't know, like an accountant should be using. And I was just thinking like these people like haven't thought of the images as art before. They've just thought of them as like valuable like data extraction, like that. You know what I mean? Like really um like meaningful, but in like a different kind of way.
Right.
And I think because of just, I don't know, my own personal experience or where I was at life when I started this, I was like, this is beautiful. Like I wasn't thinking about, all of the bits of information that you could pull from it that has such
No, that's a really
yeah.
that's a good point. I mean, I can remember when we were first looking at those images and we were like, wow, I mean, look at this stuff. It's
Yeah.
amazingly gorgeous. But then you realize, oh, I'm looking at kudzu vine growing over the tops of a bunch of houses, which meant
You got to get back to
physically
work. Yeah.
that was an indicator that we needed to go knock on that front door. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. It can be both. It can be beautiful and informative. Yeah.
Do you have any questions, Steve? Or yeah, we got one here.
Um, Let me sit, sorry.
That's all right.
So sorry, great presentation, good everything's just brilliant. I really liked the abstract art comparisons. I think what I like about abstract art is kind of that it isolates the part of art making that's just like elegant accidents.
Mm.
Like in like that um piece you showed by, oh my god, now I forgot his name. It sounds like Miro, but it's not Miro.
Mondrian.
Mondrian.
Yeah.
Like there is really nothing but the kind of elegant accident in that painting, and that isolation is kind of cool. And when we're making buildings and construction and whatever, we're not making them to be seen from top down. So everything you show is accidental to some degree.
Mhm.
Have you thought about that? And what are some like, I don't know, cool unintentional things that you usually see when doing this kind of work?
Hmm. I wonder if there are some buildings that I wonder if like the consciousness of seeing things from satellite is changing, that people are thinking about top down more. I don't know. Um, I mean, yeah, you lose like all elevation when looking from directly above. Um, so I think that's why they become like abstract paintings because they just become and everything becomes flat. Which is what like the Mondrian, there's not 3D, it's 2D. Um,
He's
I,
got some amazing images. Sorry to interrupt of swimming pools.
mm, mhm.
Um, those are
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question. Like, what do you notice that's like an accident? Um, like I think I was gonna say I'm obsessed with Florida. Like Florida is crazy.
Whole state.
Um, just like from satellite because like it's like each individual residential community in, southern Florida, like was planned by someone. And so it has like this cohesive plan, but then when you like put them all next to each other, which is maybe in a way like an accident, like you get this crazy combination that like wasn't done by one person. I can pull up an example of what I mean. Um,
That's interesting.
but like they all have their own cohesive thing going
Have you
on.
studied fractals, Ben?
I haven't studied them, but I like the powers of 10
Well,
concept of
yeah, but fractal imagery.
yeah, I think like that's definitely another one too of like geological patterns that appear like you know capillaries on the human body, like
Yeah.
that kind of concept.
Yeah,
I just pulled up
the
this.
crazy edges.
Can you see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Boca Raton. Like that kind of comes to mind of like
It looks like a Keith Haring thing.
Yeah, it
It
does.
has a very doodly
Yeah.
quality.
this is I mean this is like reposted. This is an image I found probably like within the first couple months of doing this. And I remember being in a coffee shop, like working on this image, and this guy behind me who I came to be friends with, who's like a renowned artist photographer, was like, "What the hell is that?" Like he like looked over my shoulder and he was like, "What is that?" Like it's so good. Like it's just so crazy and like you you couldn't make this up. This is something I didn't say today, but I've been thinking about like in light of this lecture is like with Gen AI becoming the thing, like I still think there's power in being like, this is real. Like I wouldn't want a Gen AI image generator to make me that because I think the fact that you like know it's real just makes it better than like,
Yeah.
you know, some image generator.
Yeah.
But like it's unbelievably real, which is
It
cool.
looks like the cross section of like a Play-Doh brain.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is fascinating. I have a quick question. Have you thought about fashion? Downloading any of your images on some couture gowns or anything, or anybody approached you with that idea? Because I would make one.
Yeah. Um, I never really did it. We almost did like one collaboration with Lululemon on like a
Oh,
pattern. Um, but it didn't happen because of like licensing reasons. Um, yeah, I don't think it ever really happened. I mean, it's oftentimes people say like the agriculture one images in particular remind them of like textiles. So that, is a compliment, but yeah, I never did it.
Hey Ben, a question and an idea for you. The
Yeah.
question is, I'm curious to know, um, do you have to fight with the satellite companies over the rights to the images that you use that come from them? And the idea is, I don't know if you've ever done it, but a picture of the Pacific garbage pot patch, I thought of that same thing, could be, it's hard to call it enticing, but from space, it could be really fascinating as a picture.
Yeah. Um,
motivational.
so that I don't think it's like photographable in the way that we imagine it based on like a diagram of it that we've all probably seen in like The Economist of like roughly how big it is. Because I think well, a lot of the ocean like isn't captured because it doesn't have like value to the satellite company. You know what I mean? It would just be like um water, like it wouldn't be unless they're like tracking shipping for some reason, which they do sometimes, often for intelligence reasons. Um, so I think like yeah, I've looked a few times and never have. It's not like a clear thing. I don't think I've seen a picture of it. That could have changed since I looked last. But yeah, for some reason, like maybe it's under the water. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And to your other question about fighting with them, like the agreements have changed over the years from like a royalty share agreement. So when I got the first book deal, the satellite company got a percentage of that, and continued to get royalties from everything that I was doing over the years. I never officially owned any of the uh, copyright on any of the images. It's always stayed with the satellite company. Um, I probably could have disputed that in court at some point that I was the artist who manipulated the images enough to make it my own work of art, but figured if I went to court with any of these companies, they could just cut off my pipeline of imagery and the project would end. So there's no real reason to do that. Um, but now I pay them upfront a set amount each year to continue accessing the imagery, um, which I mean, kind of like off the record in some ways, like might be one of the reasons that this project ends to some extent because there's just like a fixed cost in doing it. And there's like a fixed cost in maintaining like the website and everything that goes with a business. And as Tom mentioned, some of my interests have taken on different forms than mapping with pickleball and life over the last 12 years. So it'll be interesting to see like what happens to this project ultimately. Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey to get, those companies on board with me having access at all to, being invited to speak at their company campuses to um, them not viewing this as a priority. Who knows? It's been very different over the years, but I had some good lawyer friends who helped me make it happen in the beginning, and it worked
It's
out.
always
So,
good to have good
yeah,
friends.
yeah, smart friends. So yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so future in-laws, does that mean um, you are betrothed?
Not yet, but we're well on our way. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, anybody else have any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
Hi there. I was just curious, like at the start, you saying it was like kind of 2016, 2017 when you were starting these images were
13, I think.
or 13, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you kind of were starting and starting to upload these, when you went out and you're like, all right, I'm gonna get the image for the day, were you going in with a plan? You're like, oh, I heard about this one area, I don't want to check it out further. Or was
Mhm.
it kind of just like you would maybe pick a region and then find something? Because I'm sure there's like infinite hidden gems out there, but also if you maybe don't go with a plan, it'd be hard to just come across them. So I'm just curious what the like original process is and then how nowadays you continue finding content from.
Yeah. So I think I had this like cohesive idea that it would be like human impact, and I think that kept leading me to find new places and explore new themes that I hadn't yet captured. Um, so like I had a few ideas in the beginning, but then you kind of start to think like, oh, energy, like I just did like a nuclear plant, but we haven't done solar yet. How about wind? How about coal? Like you just kind of keep going down that stream, but also transportation, airports. I haven't done shipping containers. I haven't done train stations. I haven't done, you know what I mean? Like I kept needing to like diversify the stream. And I think I was viewing it as like, excuse me, like a cohesive stream that I wouldn't do like an airport 2 days in a row. Like, I did an airport 1 month ago. It's probably time for another airport, like to keep it fresh. But that was all, just instinct. If something happened in the news that was major, like that would get priority and would, be the post of the day. Um, I never really like had too much of a plan. Like
Okay.
like I think people were like, "Do you have these like set for the month? Like, have you figured it out?" And it was always kind of like I woke up and figured out what it would be. Um, I will say like it's not necessarily as daily as it what like for the first 4 or 5 years, I posted myself every single day, like and did it. Um, so like if I didn't post, like my family would be texting me, be like, "Are you okay?" Which was like like my sign of life. Um, but now like I'll repeat some and like, you know, do the same. Like at Thanksgiving, like my mom was like, "Oh, you're gonna do that cranberry bog picture again this year," like kind of calling me out for being lazy that I've just done the same thing every Thanksgiving. But it also has become really hard to like find something new that is really visually appealing. Like when I was doing this initially, I could look through the list of made like the top 30 airports in the world and like find the one that looked coolest and post that. You know what I mean? Then you've like posted all of the top 30 airports now. You know what I mean? Like there isn't a new airport every day that you can take a picture of. Um, so yeah, I
There are,
wonder
but
like,
Benjamin, there
yeah,
are the yearly updates, right? I mean, so
of
I
course.
think your most powerful things to me are the year by year time lapses
Definitely.
of the. I mean, I was just looking at the one of whatever the volcano was showing the ice melt each year. So and as time goes on, your time lapses are getting longer and longer, which make them even more powerful.
For sure.
Which
Yeah, I've been doing those long enough now that we're like updating the time lapses that we did 3 years ago with certain ones that have like, a mine that has expanded more. So Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this project could go on forever. Like you would never run out of stories to tell. And things are always changing, and the world is so big that like we haven't gotten nearly close to capturing all of the interesting things. Um, I maybe it's just like on a personal level, it's like harder to devote more time to find the cooler images now because it was relatively low-hanging fruit, at the jump. The book was really hard to like find.
I was just going to say, have you ever thought about, I don't know what the right term is, co-branding or collabs or finding another artist to, to
Sure.
to to produce material based upon your
Yeah,
process.
I totally there's actually one Instagram account that I think this one guy is doing very beautiful work with satellite imagery, and I almost was like, do you want to just do it? But I mean, speaking to that, like someone else would look at Boca Raton and frame it entirely differently.
Right,
Like the same
right.
image I just showed you guys could be rotated 180 degrees and would feel entirely different. Like
Yeah,
I'm not the only one who has the ability to do this at all. And I have had people like working with me over the years who helped create images and share the
yeah,
images. So it's not been all me all the time, that's for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sticking around a little bit. Really appreciate
Sure
it,
thing.
Ben.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Really interesting discussion. Much
My
enjoyed it.
pleasure. My pleasure. And I'll see you in a year, if not sooner.
Okay, awesome. If you get to San
Update
Francisco
that.
or you're in New York?
In New York, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll
All
look
right.
you up.
Thanks, Tom.
All
Thank you
right. See
all.
ya.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.